I find myself a lot of the times in weddings experience these little moments of fear or like a reminder of like negative stuff about my life. For example,
You're not the only one.
Yeah, obviously
300 guests and 299 are going through existential despair.
I don't know if being in a straight wedding with someone singing I Can't Change Even If I Tried, the same love. But every time in a Jewish wedding, after the wedding is like, a lot of the time the rabbi would say, we all pray for the rebuilding of the temple. And everyone's like, yes, yes. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Like, if you build a temple, it means that like, I'm basically going to be stoned to death. Like, stop saying amen.
Everyone stop. So have you ever, felt the desire to stand up? Like in the movies when they have that person that's sitting in the back going, stop. This has got to stop. I object.
Keren, if I ever had any desire in my life, it would be to be that person. As I said here before on this podcast many times, 90% of my personality is based on American film and music videos. Everything I do is derived from that pool of maybe 30 movies and 100 videos. And I have proof for that. I always used to say that I kiss or I make out like in a music video. And everyone thought, oh, that's like another joke. But then one of my friends saw me making out with someone in a festival. And she came to me after and she was like, I believe you. Now I know. Now I understand what you meant.
I think you do a lot of things like you're in a MTV
I know,
show.
and I always wanted, to order Chinese food and get it in a box, in a like paper box. I always wanted to do all these things that they do in the movies, and one of them is, this famous sentence, "Speak now or forever hold your peace." And I always wanted to be either the priest saying that, the person standing up saying no. Your husband is gay and he's my lover, I always wanted to do that.
Oh my gosh, that would be so amazing.
Never happened.
I wish I had such lofty movie-like responses to weddings and engagement things. I have a different response. So growing up when I had my bat mitzvah, which is for those out there that aren't our 5 listeners in Israel, that's your Jewish coming of age ritual at age 13 for girls and 12 for boys. So I had my bat mitzvah at our family home. It was really weird. The whole thing was weird. But my brother was there the whole time staring at his Game Boy the whole time and just looking angry. And sometimes I feel like I just want to be at weddings with a Game Boy, playing video games in a black turtleneck and just like in the corner. So not standing up saying I object, but just like experiencing my own thing without anyone saying anything. But I am the wedding singer, so that doesn't always play out that way.
You are, and you're a great wedding singer.
Oh, thanks. And Etai, I know that you've mentioned that your students are very invested in your right to marry and equal rights for people marrying.
So in Australia last year or earlier this year, gay marriage was legalized. And before that, there was a long time of protests and, a lot of hot people walking in tank tops, screaming, we're here, we're queer, and we want to get married because even though we're different, we want to be like everyone else. And one time we were talking about it in one of our lessons, and one student was really trying to be supportive, and she said, I think that gay marriage might not be important for everyone, but for people like Etai, that it's very important for them to get married. They should be able also to do that, and they should also be able to get married. And
so you always have been desperate to get married. You've been gagging for a long time.
Obviously, I took this student after class and I told her, listen, the reason I'm not married is not because it's illegal. The reason I'm not married is because I am Aquarius ascendant and Virgo moon, and I will never be able to love.
Wow. How old was the student?
She was like year 5 maybe. That part is half made up, but it really happened. But she wasn't in year 5.
Okay.
Yes, I think, astrology has a lot to do with your ability to get married and to hold a relationship. I can have short-term relationships because of my Virgo moon. I sometimes have relationships with, people on the tram. We connect for a few minutes. I look at them and I imagine the relationship, and then we both go our separate ways. I think my most extreme relationship, I was standing behind a girl that she was FaceTiming her boyfriend.
Nice.
And I could see that he could see me from behind her. because her phone was facing me, and I just felt that connection. And for those 20 minutes, we were like having an affair she wasn't aware of.
That's hot. That also could be a Jennifer Lopez movie.
I miss him every now and then. It's been a good relationship.
Wow. So given that people have actually gotten engaged in our lives, how are you feeling? It's Venus retrograde. Like, are you worried about what's going to happen, or are you feeling excited about that?
I'm not worried. I do have a short rant in the matter, because I feel like people are getting engaged and it's so easy for everyone. But I just have a question. Why is it so easy for people to come to like single people and say, oh, aren't you tired of being single? Or like, don't you want to like find someone? But then if I go to someone that is in a long-term relationship and I'm like, aren't you tired of like settling down on an average relationship? That considered rude.
Have you told that to your year 5 students as well, that life lesson?
I have classes that are just about that. I actually want to end this episode with something really positive, and I think something that anyone can learn from. I was in an alternative wedding, which was really cool and alternative, and during the ceremony, the couple asked for 7 people, which correlate with the 7 traditional blessings that you do in a Jewish wedding. 7 people to read their favorite texts that have to do with love. The parents of the groom read this beautiful poem, but one of my favorite poets. Yes, I read poetry. His name is Khalil Gibran. You probably know him. And in this poem talks about how in a relationship you should still find space for each other, for individual space. And I thought it was so amazing that during a wedding, parents tell their kids, don't buy into this lie of this person needs to answer all your needs, and actually find the space for yourself. And I would love to read this poem to our listeners.
Oh, that's a beautiful idea. I'd love to hear it. For those out there wondering, that's the sound of the poetry book opening.
Here I go. These are pages.
Pages. Of
Real.
a real book. It's not on the internet. This is a book.
It is also on the internet, but this is a book. And I'm going to read it now. You were born together, and together you shall be forevermore. You shall be together when the white wings of death scatter your days. You shall be together even in the silent memory of God. But let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the winds of the heavens dance between you. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. Give one another your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone. Even as the strings of the lute are alone, though they quiver with the same music. Give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping. For only the hand of life can contain your hearts. And stand together, yet not too near together. For the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow.
Wow, what a beautiful meditation on modern love and the quivering strings of a lute. Etai, thank you for sharing that. Thanks everyone for listening again. We will see you next time for another episode of Astrology Roast.